Now, there's been more fighting in Sudan despite a ceasefire that was meant to have been agreed upon between two rival military groups. This is the latest footage. You should see it in a moment from the capital, Khartoum. Heavy gunfire, explosions, warplanes were still being heard around the city. Hopefully we'll be able to show you those pictures in just a moment. Over the last few days, hundreds of people have been killed in the violence. The latest fighting is because of a power struggle between these two men, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, president of Sudan's military government, and on the left, that's him on the left, and on his deputy, should I say, Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo is leading the country's biggest paramilitary group, the RSF, on the right. The UN has now described Sudan's humanitarian situation as catastrophic, with mass displacement of people. The Red Cross has echoed that concern.
The truth is that at the moment, it is almost impossible to provide any humanitarian services in and around Khartoum. There are calls from various organizations and people trapped asking for evacuation. For the past 4 days, people have been out of water, food. Electricity has been rationed, in some places totally disconnected.
Well, to get the very latest, I spoke to Emmanuel Igunza, who is our senior Africa reporter based in Nairobi.
Simply, both the National Army, led by the de facto leader of Sudan, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and then on the other side, the RSF commander, Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, simply think that they can win this through the fighting that is continuing. And the situation is really dire. This is a fifth day of heavy fighting, particularly in the capital, Khartoum, and it's happening in residential areas. And as you've heard there from residents, many of them, this caught them by surprise. They've run out of water, they've run out of food, and many of them, other nationalities, aid agencies have been requesting for evacuation, but that has not happened because this ceasefire that was supposed to be in place for 24 hours to enable humanitarian assistance to get to people has simply not happened, and the fighting has spread into other parts of the country, particularly in the west, in places like Darfur. And the worry now is that if this continues, then this country could slide into a full-blown civil war.
So what will it take, do you think, to get the two sides together to talk?
It is not very clear just what it will take, because both the two generals who are fighting seem to be very apart in terms of how they see this conflict playing out or ending. But there is a lot of international pressure. We've seen over the last few days pressure coming in from the US Secretary of State, who's also met the UK Foreign Secretary. We've seen the African Union and also leaders from the region, neighboring countries to Sudan, are expected to go into Khartoum if the ceasefire holds and if the airport is open, but at the moment it doesn't seem that the fighting is likely to end.